Violence in today's world is growing and expanding in all areas, generating an atmosphere of fear, uncertainty, asphyxiation and claustrophobia. We experience not only the physical violence of war and crime, but also economic, racial, religious, psychological, domestic, family and internal violence. We may have heard the word non-violence, but due to a lack of information, we don't always have a clear idea of what non-violence is. Non-violence is not pacifism, and it isn't just a simple methodology for marches and other actions. More importantly, non-violence is not the resigned attitude of those who avoid conflict out of fear. Non-violence is a great life philosophy and method for taking action. It has always been inspired by deep moral and religious convictions, and today it is the only coherent answer to the spiral of violence surrounding us. Let us briefly review what has been said about non-violence and the movements inspired by it.
Jainism, together with Hinduism and Buddhism, is one of India's religions. In Jainism, each living being contains a unique and immortal vital principle. Each act is itself a cause which produces an effect, and therefore each violent action, or himsa, committed against this vital principle will strike back against the one who is committing violence. Only through non-violent action is it possible to reach a place of bliss and peace. For this reason, ahimsa, non-violence, is the foundation of Jainist ethics. Ahimsa is total respect for every form of life.
Killing a living being is like killing oneself. To show compassion towards a living being is like showing it to oneself. Knowing this principle of equality, always treat others with respect and compassion.
Tolstoy was born in 1828 at Yasnaya Polyana in Russia. Between 1860 and 1880, he wrote his two most famous novels, War and Peace and Anna Karenina. But it is in his other books, such as The Kingdom of God is Inside You, where we find his deep reflections on nonviolence. After a spiritual crisis, he came to Christianity, trying to grasp its original and genuine sense, which had been lost in the official religion. According to Tolstoy, the Church has forgotten the two simple, essential principles of the Gospel: loving humanity and not opposing evil with violence. Therefore, even though Christianity is everywhere around us, it has not entered the hearts and lives of men.
And Christ taught at that time his doctrine, which consisted not only in the fact that one must not oppose himself to evil with violence, but also with a new concept of life, whose application to social life would have resulted in making fighting among men disappear, not by submitting some of them to certain authorities, but forbidding men, especially those in power, to use violence against anyone, no matter what the situation.
However, this message was really accepted only by a few, and when states welcomed Christianity, they did so by accepting only the surface of the doctrine, out of pure utility.
The contradiction between conscience and life, and therefore the split in two of our existence, has reached its extreme limit.
On the one hand, we speak of humanity, understanding, and justice, and at the same time we silently or explicitly support a society founded on violence. Whoever is in government always uses violence when his power is threatened. War is therefore justified as a need to keep the evil from reaching power. But those practicing war are the violent ones, and all they want to do is to protect their apparently advantageous situation. and so they will use public opinion to convince others that they are only using violence against an objective evil which puts everyone in danger. If we were not blinded by hypocrisy, the simple things in life would be really and truly clear to us.
Share what you have with others. Do not accumulate richness. Do not become arrogant. Do not steal. Do not cause suffering. Do not kill. Do not do to others what you wouldn't like to have done to yourself. This has all been said not 18 centuries, but 5,000 years ago, and there could be no doubt on the truth of this law if hypocrisy did not exist. The only meaning of life is to serve humanity, concurring to the institution of God's kingdom, which cannot be done if each man does not recognize and profess the truth. God's kingdom will not come in a way that can be observed, and it will not be said, "Here it is," or "There it is," due to the fact that the kingdom of God is within you.
Gandhi was born in India in 1869. He moved to London in 1888 to get his law degree. His interests brought him to study religious texts, and he discovered Tolstoy's thought and was especially struck by The Kingdom of God is Within You, which he defined as one of the few works capable of immediately transforming someone. In 1893, he went to the South African Union for work. In South Africa, power lay in the hands of a minority of whites, and there was a regime of absolute apartheid which discriminated not only against the natives, but also a small community of Indians. This is where Gandhi, faced with racial segregation and suffering from various offenses, started his social work. The Indian community was forced to face all kinds of injustice, persecution, disproportionate taxes, restrictions on personal freedom. Gandhi became the leader of this community, and in the beginning his battles were based on petitions, reprimands, publications, and letters. However, with the worsening of events, he matured and deepened his ideas and fighting methods. In 1906, a new law forced Asians to wear IDs, to have their fingerprints taken, and to submit to a series of humiliations. Gandhi launched a campaign of civil disobedience, and the Indians refused to register. The prisons became full, and Gandhi himself had his first experience in what he called Her Majesty's hotels. In 1913, most of the discriminatory laws were repealed, and Gandhi won his first great victory, proving the efficacy of nonviolence. In 1914, he returned to India, where he had, in the meantime, become famous. India was a very important British colony. It was militarily, politically, and economically subjected to the British. The British exploited India's natural resources, making great profits, but the country remained poor. Discontent was widespread throughout the country, and the Indian Congress had no political power of any kind. Thanks to Gandhi's leadership, the Congress acquired a different role in what became the process of Indian independence.